Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:16 p.m. And we'll start off with roll call. Aviana?
Present.
Brown?
Present.
Papua?
Present.
Rudolph? Present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And next, I'll read our vision statement. The Bayshore community, growing engaged hearts, educated minds, and empowered visionaries. And with that, I would like to request a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Superintendent Veal, are there any public comments?
I believe we have one. That's Salvador.
Oh, must
You would,
And you'll need to hold the mic.
stand and hold the mic.
Oh, God. Can I just?
Yeah.
Sure. But you need to get close to the mic.
Close enough.
Yeah, that's great.
Do I just read my public comment? All right. So I guess the subject is the after-school program turning kids away. Last year, BGC had libraries and rec support to house all the kids. No one was put on a waiting list. Now, since both are separated, kids aren't able to go. Or now that both are separated, kids aren't able to go. As a community, we were once a family. Now everything seems separated. How do we expect parents, families to want to volunteer if we keep things looking like a competition? We are here today for the kids, right? Let's refocus that. With budgets, how are we able to fund everyone last year and not this year? We basically turn kids, younger and older, to other programs or even to roaming around the streets nowadays. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Are there any other public comments?
There are none.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 4, consent items. I'll need a motion and a second to approve consent items.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just as a note, the formatting of the accounts payable, I think it was printed in portrait instead of landscape.
Oh.
So just a comment. So,
Okay, thank you. The attachment.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, item 5, introduction of new staff members. I will pass it over to Superintendent Veal.
Thank you very much. I am here to apologize that the tasks got away from me and I was unable to invite our new staff to attend or give them the option to attend. So we're very excited to have new staff members. We were able to welcome 5 teachers to our classrooms. So 1 6th grade teacher, 2 5th grade, and 2 4th grade who've joined a very strong team. So their onboarding, I believe, has been successful and becoming part of our community seemingly very successful. We also were able to bring on new kitchen staff to help with the expansion of people who are the recipients of the wonderful food that we have for lunch. We joined a partnership with Brisbane to provide lunch to their community. And so that required hiring of 3 new staff support. And that has been going well under the supervision of Ms. Sabado. And we finally have a nighttime custodian, which has been very needed in our community. So we are very happy to have a full staff.
Very awesome.
PTO update.
And so Ms. Calantes sends her apologies for not being able to attend, but she did give me some points to share with you. We're very excited. We are in the process of redesigning the district website, and there is now a parent button on the face of the website. And if you click that, you will have access to things like parent newsletters and other important information that parents would need. Oh, thank you, Mr. Dyson. Parents would need on their about their students. So Mr. Dyson's showing about how we have the PTO. And so if you click on the newsletter accordion up at the top, Mr. Dyson, thank you. And you click on the September 2022 link there, you will see a beautiful newsletter that our PTO has created for parents, welcoming them to the school year and highlighting some great events that they'll be sponsoring. The first one is September 19th at 5:30. We're doing a parents and pastries meeting. This is the first PTO meeting, and it will be held here. And so we welcome all parents to come to that. We're also going to have our PTO cleanup event on October 15th from 9 to 12 here at Bayshore. And the one that I am anxiously anticipating is the annual block party, the Bayshore Block Party, which will be here October 29th from 11 to 3. There are 3 available slots for small business vendors and for volunteer support. So please reach out to Coach Arnold, and that information is on this wonderful newsletter that parents will be able to access or can access from our website. So any questions, please contact PTO at thebayshoreschool.org. I look forward to that.
Excellent. Thank you for reporting out on that. Thank you, PTO leadership. Next, item 7, educational services, and we'll go into 7A, public hearing for sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials. So we'll open public hearing at 6:24 p.m. Superintendent Veal, are there any public comments?
I don't have any to report.
Okay, and then public hearing will close at 6:24 p.m. And next we will go on to 7B, adoption of resolution 2104. Superintendent Veal, did you have any comments regarding this before?
So the recommendation is that we approve the resolution. So this resolution basically recognizes per Ed Code 60119 that we held the public hearing that gave our community the opportunity to come and ask questions about our instructional materials. By approving the resolution, we recognize that we have sufficient textbooks and instructional materials per the Ed Code requirement. And this is something that happens every year to make sure that we are providing what's necessary for our students' education.
And if there are no questions, I'd like to request a motion and a second to approve resolution 2104.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item 7C, overview of SEL practices and programs. I'll pass it back to Superintendent Veal.
Thank you. So I am going to invite Principal Baker to share an overview of our social emotional learning practices here at Bayshore School. This is per request from Trustee Avalana, who in conversations, we thought that a refresher would be helpful in helping us bring an understanding of all the incredible resources that we have here at Bayshore and the team that we have to support social emotional development, whether that's on a tier 1 of the multi-tiered systems of support approach, tier 2 or tier 3, which Principal Baker will go into more detail about.
Stand.
Yes, and with the microphone, please.
On the smiley face.
On the smiley face.
And There's a smiley face you're supposed to stand on.
Or if you want to stand to the side and look
Stand
at,
on the smiley face.
Yeah.
Is
That's
this
great.
sound good?
thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So at Bayshore, we call our social emotional learning support system TESOL. And the T stands for transformative. And that is because over the last few years, it has been very important to us as a community to embrace culturally responsive practices in our ways, which means transforming the way that we look at social emotional learning. And this is our team. This is our TESOL team. So there's me. There's Mr. Dyson, who wears many hats at Bayshore. And in this context, he is a TOSA. He's a teacher on special assignment, working on relationship building with our students. We have Mr. Brian Patel, our full-time school counselor, Natalie Rodriguez, who's a part-time school counselor from Star Vista, Joanne Simonson, our school psychologist, Jamie Smith, who is our behavioral consultant, and a new addition is Mr. Ben Bartos, who is our new Wellness Together coordinator, counselor, sorry. And in here are some embedded documents that would, if you want to peruse at your leisure, these are a lot of the documents that we use in supporting our students. And on the next slide, I'll kind of review what those are. And then if you want, you can spend some time going back and looking at those more thoroughly. So next slide. There we go. So this graphic is illustrating the tiered system that we use at Bayshore to support our students. So this is part of what Mrs. Veal was mentioning as our MTSS structure. That's a multi-tiered systems of support. And what that means is that you're finding ways to support all students, sort of imagining an umbrella and the ways that you can address the needs of all kids and meet them wherever our kids are at. So the blue outside box is tier 1. So this is what all students at Bayshore receive in terms of transformative social emotional learning. So all students at Bayshore have community circles in their classrooms. Those are in the morning for the elementary, and there's a regular one on Friday at the end of the day at middle school. And those are ways that we build relationships in our class and are proactive and relationship building, so that if there is a problem, we have a structure in which we can, in a communal classroom environment, address issues of problems. And we use Caring Schools Community, which is a curriculum that has a lot of wonderful lesson plans for circles. So this little picture is from Mrs. Gamara's second grade, where they, using a lesson plan from the curriculum, developed some solutions to problems that were at recess. And this is Miss Heinrich, one of our third grade teachers, having a community circle in her class. All of our classes, all of our students use restorative practice to support kids when they are having a conflict or any issue that needs to be addressed outside of instructional time. And so what that looks like is the first C is a conversation. And so this is like if there's a student who seems a little out of whack or just a little dysregulated, you might have a conversation with that student. The next step after that would be to have a circle. If it's something, an issue that involves other students, you would do this not during instructional time, but the kids are used to knowing what a circle looks like. If it's more of a child who is maybe tired or just needs to spend some time by themselves getting regulated, they might use a chill spot, which is another one of our C's, and it's also something that's in every classroom. And if there's further conversation needed, then we facilitate a facilitated conversation with me in the office during recess, during lunch, after school, during some time when we can connect and address problems more thoroughly. And mindfulness practices are something that we do every day in our Bayshore Family Circle. The kids, under the guidance of Mr. Dyson, run those. We use those mindfulness practices in our community resilience model, which goes by the acronym CRIM. And really what that looks like at Bayshore is using the language of, I have air in my balloon. I need to find a healthy way to get the air out of my balloon. I'm really in my downstairs brain. I need to wait until I'm up in my upstairs brain to talk through this problem. Like that's kind of part of the language that we use at Bayshore, which is what CRIM is. That's the community. It's being resilient in your practice when you are dysregulated or facing any issues that have to do with trauma, just general challenges. Then culturally responsive practice, we spoke about that, and chill spots, we spoke about that. So the second tier is what some of our kids get. So some of our kids might need further support in the and that looks like an SST, which is a student study team. So this would be when different stakeholders who know the child get together to kind of troubleshoot, problem solve, discuss different ways to support our kids. It could be an academic SST. It could be a behavior SST. Some of our kids need group or individual counseling. Some of our kids need to take breaks or use the sensory room because they have to get their wiggles out, or they need to just take a longer breath break or do something in the sensory room. There's all different kinds of equipment to just kind of get out some energy or tools to use to help relax. Some of our kids need more family support, and our team provides family support in a variety of ways. And when there has been a community circle where harm, or when there has needed to be a community circle where harm has been caused by a student or a group of students, that often results in a reentry circle where that student needs to re-enter the community and show how they are not going to, how they will change their behavior or address the harm they have caused so that everybody feels safe and ready to learn. Fewer students than that need outside agency referrals or are on a check-in, check-out system where they have a trusted adult that they meet with in the morning. Are you hungry? How did you sleep? How are you feeling? Do you have air in your balloon that you need to get out? And then at the end of the day, we'll check in with that same adult. Sometimes that's a student that has a behavior plan that you kind of remind them about what they need to focus on during the day. And some of our students have 504 or IEPs where there are social emotional needs that are addressed within those. So that's kind of what the big picture of the ways that we support our kids in with transformative social emotional learning. And the next slide has more resources in it. This is just some of the things I've already talked about. And again, you'll have access to these to look at your leisure. We have a tier 2, tier 3 form, which is something we use to collect data around when things are happening, with whom, times of day. You know, it's just a way to sort of note what kinds of issues are coming up so we can, the TESOL team can notice themes and patterns and address those. And yeah, the rest of these are just more links to things that I spoke about in the previous slide. Do you have any questions for me?
With regards to the data that we collected, like say, for instance, in the previous year, how are we using that data this year to assess what our needs are?
That's a really great question. And that's actually, we just had our first TESOL meeting. So at the next one, we are going to be looking at that data from last year and see what the patterns were, so we can start to see, now that we're kind of all getting to know each other, because we do have a new addition to the team, and with Mr. Dyson, we'll start to examine that data soon.
And then one last question. With regards to the after-school program, the BGCP, to what extent are we extending this program to allow them to understand
that's
what we're dealing with?
So that's a really great question too. So at this point, I've shared the documents with them. They've had those documents to kind of look at on their own, and they've come to a few of our staff meetings, and they really do need to be, you know, I think the next step is for us to get together to see how these practices work into their routines as well as they're setting the groundwork for their own programming.
Yeah, I wanted to know at what point are parents allowed to be part of tier or whatever steps they would like to be?
These are just such terrific questions. So at any point, you know, we would welcome that kind of parent involvement. I would say when it gets to the point of an SST, that's when they absolutely are contacted and brought into the conversation. Like, we're noticing these patterns at school. These are the different ways that we've addressed the issues that we're noticing, and we definitely need more family support. And usually prior to that, there's been outreach by the teacher. There may have been meetings between the teacher and the parent, but the SST is really where you get all of those heads together. I would say that my hope is that we can start to have more trainings with our parent community around restorative practice and what that looks like. That's short-term goals. Then there's sort of long-term goals around, you know, some of you met Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center, who is going to be doing some work with our middle schoolers in the second trimester. And part of what the work is that they do is to work with students around being proactive with restorative practice. And then how do I bring that home? How do I bring that to my family? So I would say there's multiple ways coming down the road, and then ways that are just within the structures of things that they're brought in by the SST process.
Based on Rick's original question about the data, what system are we using to capture this data? And does it work for everyone?
So the system that we're using to capture the data is in bigger districts, they have big machines that they pay for programs that they use. So what I have created, it's a Google Doc, it's a Google form. But what happens is that there's a series of questions that the TESOL team developed that when anyone fills out this form, so it's not like an office referral form, like I'm having a problem, this kid's having problems, here's this piece of paper, and now I'm going to send this piece of paper with this escalated child to the office and you figure out what to do. It's not like that, right? So we problem solve in all these different ways. But as far as the documentation, when someone fills out that form, it generates a document which goes into a folder, and it automatically pings everyone on the TESOL team that a document has been generated. And so once that happens, so for example, if one was filled out today, so Mr. Patel and Mr. Dyson and myself, everybody on the team got that ping, right? And so then it tells you, you know, what was the antecedent, what was the behavior, the consequences usually at that point blank, but there might be consequences that have already been figured out. And then it'll, in addition to that, you know, what time of day, who was involved, what, you know, all of those kinds of things. And so once we have that document in the folder, now we can tag teachers. I can tag teachers in the document. And so then they can go and read it and say, okay, one of my kids had this happen. And then that becomes a place where we can go back and forth and communicate about how we're supporting that child or those children. And then the form, you know, that generates just pie charts and all of that so that you can see it that way too.
Okay.
So it's a little more primitive than the super fancy ones, but it's pretty good. I'd say it's pretty good. And then for like bigger picture things like suspensions or in-house or out-of-house suspensions, or the reasons why that form was filled out, that we still use Swiss for that, which is a data. It's a PBIS data collection tool that collects kind of those bigger picture things.
Okay. I guess this is not a question that needs to be answered now, but just that we just keep it in mind of, it sounds like it's working net for us now, but is it sustainable and can it grow the way, because obviously we're looking for growth when we're implementing this multi-tiered support system. So I just want to make sure we have the right tools to make it as easy as possible, because it does sound like there might be a little bit of manual tweaking that needs to go on. And obviously, given the resources that we have, it'd be better to utilize those resources with the students than doing data entry and data management.
We've tried to make this as simple as possible so that it's a lot of drop-down box checking, and the narrative part is really more something that's written later. That's really about just communicating to everybody what is happening. And I think that part is the part that we're really working to improve on, because last year, that's where the accountability piece gets kind of tricky. And now that we're getting more comfortable with tagging in Google Docs, it makes it just a really, really easy way to give people a heads up about, here's what happened. I'm tagging you because you are the person on yard duty and this student is supposed to take a break on the bench for 5 minutes, whatever those things are. So to me, I feel like it's effective for now. I definitely think there's ways that it can change and grow. And, people with more technological savvy than me can probably tweak it more. As it stands, I do feel like it's
No, it's great.
effectively.
It sounds like it's
yeah.
working now. I just would definitely want
Yeah.
us to be and keep it in mind that,
No,
there
I
might be some
contacted,
sort of
they're-
subscription-based ones that are
they're
a
really,
little more affordable.
they're not, they're like
Yeah.
not, they're expensive and they're expensive. And if they're not a cookie cutter and they cater to the way that like for us, we really want like antecedent behavior consequence. And we want, it's even more. So I connected with San Francisco Unified and learned a lot about the systems that they use, and they outsource to these big companies. And I said, well, you did it for them. Can't you just sort of make a copy? And they're like, no, can't really do that. So, but definitely it's something to keep looking into and see like what other small districts use if they're doing something a little different. So,
Yeah. Because to that point, there might be ways to, again, as Ms. Brown was saying about when do the parents get involved and how do we track that? Obviously there's a million different tools out there, and it'd be great to make sure that we're using the best ones possible. Again, for our size district and within our budget, but yeah, so something just to keep in mind. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I just hope that this will work because we even start the PPIS, that never gone anywhere. I didn't see any improvement on that. There was even a lack on the parents' part. And I requested for parents for, getting together and learn about the same, but it wasn't even happening. So that brings me two questions. Are these going to go in those children's files, their individuals' records?
So the only record that goes in a student's CUME file is if they were suspended.
Okay.
This is really more in-house documentation for us to notice themes and patterns. It wouldn't go in a CUME file unless it was something we really wanted to put in the CUME file. But like as a district, that's not something that we've ever done. This is more, it's not really part of restorative practice work to have that kind of thing be something where a student would have to feel like I'm getting dinged for something because of a choice I made when I was in 7th grade. But if a student, did something really, really very challenging, like brought a weapon to school, like really did something, there's a list of things that are on that form that if Mrs. Bowman sees one of those things checked, that would go into Swiss and that would go in their file because then they would get suspended. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so how do you measure all those tiers from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3?
So we have a universal screener. This will be the first year that we're using it, and it's connected with this Caring Schools community curriculum. So this is a universal screener that Mr. Patel is going to be supporting to implement, and we'll do it 3 times a year, just like we use iReady to collect academic data. And we've used California Healthy Kids Survey in the past, but they only do that for like 1 or 2 grade levels. And this does all of the grades, and it's sort of developmentally appropriate for. I think, is it all grades or is it just 3rd? Does it start at 3rd? I think it's all grades. And that'll be another great way to connect families too. So this will be the first time that we're using that.
So I like how you guys have a team, but then for other staff, so that I just feel like it's another burden on, on filling the dots, the Google Docs that you have mentioned, are everybody on board with it?
I feel, I've asked for feedback and I think it's pretty simple. I mean, the traditional like old school referral form was really clunky where you would have to sit there and like scribe this whole narrative of what had happened, and you'd have to do it right when it was happening because that was how the administrator knew what was happening. And thanks to technology and a variety of other things, we don't have to do that. But this I think the one thing I mean, it is data that we're collecting really, but there's some teachers who use this form more than others do. So I think there's a sort of a calibration that we could probably work on where about like, when do I fill this form out? Because that's still data, because it's sort of noticing when a teacher is needing more support or not needing support, or what they're documenting. It's still data, but it's not exactly the data that we want to be collecting.
So are you saying that, with the software that it has to be populated as far as information inputted on the drop down? Is that correct?
It's just a box clicking, and there's very few things that are required so that a teacher can fill it out. So we just get it documented, and it takes less than 2 minutes to fill it out. And then once they submit the form, that's when it generates the document. And that's when whoever needs to be putting in more information, that's just the narrative of what happened. I had something today where I'm putting in, here's what this student said, here's what this student said, and I'm tagging the teachers and people who were there who I would like their input to write on this as well. But it just takes that pressure off of like, when am I supposed to do this? And I find a lot of times that I'm the one who's filling it out, which I think is fine. I mean, I think it just, as long as it's documented, it's fine.
I think the biggest challenge what we're facing, in this district and any school district is, with the SEL and academics, and trying to find that balance and making sure that everyone is on board, everyone has bought into it and working together as a team. I think ultimately that's our goal, and trying to get this push forward as much as we can is very important.
I think that
yeah.
I'm really, really proud of the openness that our school system has had over the last few years. I mean, even before the pandemic, when we first started rolling things out, and people were really questioning a lot of these practices that we were trying, and they were new. And I think that I think I can't think of anyone who I feel is in a place that they're not embracing it, or at least naming it if they're, if there's something that they feel like this isn't working, that they're voicing that, as opposed to kind of not saying anything and just feeling like something isn't working. So I think that's a huge step in the right direction.
Sure. And once we, get that data back and analyze it and break it down, hopefully we can make adjustments if we need to. Correct?
Well, thank you. But I wanted to see if the board can get a report, like what I say every month, like every board meeting. I wanted to see how it grows and where are we at. And I don't want to lag on it, because then it becomes something else.
Identify trends.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Well, what I could do is, when we have this next TESOL meeting and we look at the data from last year, I could bring that as something. I mean, we have so little into school. There's just not really a lot in there right now. So I would say that if you wanted to, I'm happy to do that and just show you, I can show you what it looks like, because it's interesting. And you do notice those kinds of trends and patterns, and you notice them without having to reveal names of students or anything like that. So I'm happy to do that. And then further down the road in the school year, we can check in again and see if anything has changed.
thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
I guess just, would we be able to have this attached to the meeting minutes or
Yes.
assembly so we have access to it?
I
Or-
just, I sent an email
Oh.
to all of you
Yeah, I
with
just
the
got that one.
presentation.
Okay.
But if you would like it also in the minutes, okay.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Principal Baker.
Thank you.
And with that, we will move on to item 8, human resources, and I will pass it back over to Superintendent Veal.
Thank you. So it was very strategic to have our Ms. Baker present on our SEL, because this next item is about approving a wellness counselor job description. So in previous conversations, I've explained that in order to have an effective system where we have people working together towards the common goal of supporting our students, it takes coordination, it takes follow through, it takes data retrieval, and it takes it takes the responsibility is on a few different people to make sure that we're doing what we say we're going to do. And one of those positions is what I would like to propose that we have in our wellness counselor job description. So this counselor job description is tweaked a little bit from our current job description in that it really details how each of the parts of our MTSS system work together, and how the wellness counselor is a key person in the system of support that we're creating. So I shared this previously, so I want to start with any kind of questions you have. But what I first want to highlight is that this is not, this new job description isn't to say that our current counseling support is not what we want it to be. I think we are incredibly, I would say, blessed to have the counselors that we have on staff and the resources and gifts that each of them bring. So whether it's Mr. Patel, who serves as the school counselor who provides tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 supports currently, or our wellness counselor or the Star Visa counselor, we are very fortunate to be able to have these resources to provide to meet the students' needs on each of these tiers that we were just reviewed. What I think could elevate the resources that we have on campus is to have someone who is working as the point person to coordinate the support to our general ed teachers with the tier 1 practices that Principal Baker went over. So the community circles, how to implement some of the strategies in our SEL curriculum, all of the tier 1 resources. This person would be a point person and have a level of expertise in how to support development and practice. Then when we have the need through our tier 2 resources, which would be an SST meeting where we would bring the stakeholders, as Ms. Baker was talking about, coming together, all the people who know the student best to try and address whatever challenge is brought before us, whether it's academic, behavioral, social, emotional. We have a meeting of the minds of sorts to come up with an action plan. And then it's our responsibility to make sure that that action plan is making the movement that we want it to, and to reconvene SST meetings after a period of time after we've put counseling together or put other resources that we've recognized are necessary. It takes a team, which is why we have a team, but it also takes the facilitation of someone who has this area of expertise. And so that is being more thorough, being more explicit, is part of how we start to design the teammates that we have. And so I'm proposing that we get your approval of a new job description for the wellness counselor position.
I had just a quick question, because we had that nice graphic on the presentation. So how does this new job description graphically overlay on the multi-tier graphic? So are they kind of
Right on top.
So it's like literally, like the umbrella is the perfect analogy.
Exactly.
So if you've got teachers and students, then you've got the umbrella, and that's Mr. Patel, and then tier 1, tier 2, tier 3.
Yes. So it's really a critical role in that TESOL team of all the people that we have here, because the person serves not only with their professional expertise in social emotional growth and understanding and development. They have that, and they're able to share and develop on a tier 1 level. And then through the communication grabs that we get. So for example, when there is a challenge that's come up, we use that Google form to ping the different members of the team, to then also ping teachers and other people who are all working to support the students. So that is that first level of accountability. We're communicating that we have this need. Then we have the system in place where we have our biweekly TESOL meetings, where we're coming to the table to say, okay, this is myself as a wellness counselor, these are the things that I'm seeing coming up in classrooms or out on the yard, or as I'm speaking with my other colleagues. These are some of the challenges that are rising to the top. Let's make sure we're all on the same page of how we are putting the supports that we have in place towards helping the needs that we're seeing arise. And then that's where we get more refined into our tier 2 and tier 3 practices. But it takes the team and each member of the team being responsible for the coordination of the service that they're providing and the communication of those services.
So which of the team will rush to rescue the child when there's a incident, or when, so there's people in the team, even that new description, that new person, if we're going to hire, which one is going to run to the rescue if there's a child that participates or even behaves with the challenge behavior in the classroom and needs to remove? Which one of the team will go?
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, we're in a classroom setting and a child is demonstrating behaviors where they're having either a hard time regulating themselves, so they're causing harm or potentially causing harm, and the efforts that the teacher in the moment is trying to do is not working.
Yes.
So then the teacher would reach out to Ms. Baker or Mr. Patel, and if one of them are available, they would come to the classroom. If it's in that immediate need, if it's something that can be de-escalated but still needs addressing, we are looking to our classroom teachers to be able to utilize all those tier 1 supports in some capacity to try and support the child. But if it's not possible in the moment, then we do have people who are not assigned to a classroom. So that could be Ms. Baker, it could be Mr. Patel, it could be Mr. Dyson, if he's not doing his elective, to come to the child's aid. And depending on what de-escalation has already, supports have already been attempted, it might be that that child just needs a walk around, the school or the yard, or it could be some time in the sensory room. So depending on what the child is showing us really determines what our response is at the moment. But the first and foremost is keeping that child safe, and then those in the immediate area safe. So it kind of depends on the behavior that we're seeing as to what our response is and who would be responding. But then we would take it from there depending on what we need to respond to.
I guess what I'm just trying to say is, when you have an earthquake drill or a fire drill, there are steps or protocols to do from where the children are taken to. I guess that's where I'm coming from, because you have a team, and then the team too is also they have their regular days task to do. And then who will be responsible if anything, escalates to that far?
We can come to this mic.
We just were talking about that at our meeting. It was on our agenda as what is the chain of command, and what I'm asking of everyone on the team is that they provide a link to their schedule, like what I'm, just a daily schedule, just like how the teachers have. And then based on that, who's free at what time, so that we can say, so they call the office, and then Mrs. Bowman knows who is the person at that time. So if I'm in an IEP, or I'm in a meeting with a parent, or whatever I'm doing, then they would call Mr. Patel right at this point. This is kind of what we're looking at like now. if, Mr. Dyson has his schedule where he has these gaps where he's wearing his TOSA hat, so he would be the person to call. So the result of this, which I'm just about to email everybody and say, please put the link to your schedule in here, is exactly to do what you're asking about, so that Mrs. Bowman, because they call the office, if they need support, they call her, or they go on the walkie, and then she will be able to look at this and say, okay, it's Monday and it's 1 p.m. This is the person who would go support.
I have a question though. So within the structure of the team, there's 3 team members. Would there be a lead team member? So if anything happens, it's out of the schedule, it's out of control, someone will still be the responsible team leader.
I mean, at this point, that's me, but I think that's kind of what we're talking about, is someone who's kind of helping to facilitate all of that and help make those decisions around who that person is who goes. And obviously when it's something really big, like I'm the one who's at the end of the day getting called to the situation. I think in those moments, like what Teresa was describing, that's where we have to know that there's always going to be someone who's going to be able to support. But to Mrs. Veal's point, we also really need to lean into our teaching staff and the relationships that they're developing with their students, because they're the ones, they see those kids more than anybody, and so for them to know, like through their community circles, through like the picture of Miss Heinrich that I showed, she, in her class, she was doing this thing where she was going around the circle and the kids were saying, which weather pattern are you today? And the kids, and just by her doing that, she knew this kid's like, I'm stormy. And she's like, okay, note to self, he's stormy. Like she just could gauge. They're little 3rd graders. So I think that those kinds of things and those kinds of, the more our staff is comfortable, like forming those relationships and feeling confident in their knowledge of their students and being culturally responsive and all of those things, that hopefully we're circumventing a lot of those. But to what, what Teresa said, those things happen. They happen a lot. And sometimes they really just need to walk around the building and one of us will be available.
But
I
you're
think
I'm just saying you're the
Right now. Yeah.
top,
Yes.
the rank.
Yeah. I don't know what else I could say besides chain of command, but that was the only thing I could come up with when I was making the agenda. So yeah.
I think the important aspect that I don't want us to lose sight about is that we have these supports and the intentions of the tier 1 practices so that we're not reactive, we're proactive, right? So we are doing things that center around knowing the needs of our children from the get-go. It could be a look, it could be, every teacher greets the child as they're coming into the room. That initial point of contact, if there's not a connection, that's a cue to the teacher. Okay, something happened on the way to school that I might need to take some time in another transition to check in. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you feeling today? Are you, our check-in wasn't the same as it has been. So it's through building relationships and creating the community in the classroom where you are able to be in tune with the student and they feel safe and comfortable to come to you and say, today's not a good day. Like I didn't get enough sleep, or I'm really hungry, or through that relationship, you're going to be able to hopefully get some sort of indication about where a student is, and so that you can do the check-ins that are necessary, or that you can do the proactive kind of responses that will hopefully prevent needing to have a reaction. But to your point about who's responsible, we're all responsible. And I know that Ms. Baker didn't mention me because I am the superintendent and she is the principal. And in our society, there is a hierarchy. I mean, we just need to name it, right? That doesn't mean I'm not available. And it doesn't mean that I'm not someone who can't help. But we have a team. We have a team of people. We all want what's best for kids. And to Ms. Baker's point is that no one here doesn't feel that children come first. So that when you're starting from that point, there's hope to move in the direction of being more proactive than reactive.
And I guess that's, you know, like Ms. Fapua mentioned earlier about PBIS, the Preventative Behavioral Intervention and Supports. That has kind of gone away. And I really believe that we really need to bring that to the forefront in these practices. I think
No.
Maya's raising her hand again. So, but I just wanted to get that out there because that's one thing that we keep leaving out. So go ahead.
So I just, so that's the positive behavioral intervention and support is there's different ways that that is implemented. And what we're doing actually, this is PBIS. Like what we're doing is it's that positive relationship building. Like that's what that is. And I think there's a sense that like when we're filling out fantastic slips and we're getting rewards for having them, and then we're pooling them to get free dress, and the staff rips off the back of the packet to get a free parking spot. Like those extrinsic motivations aren't always, then you're focused on the extrinsic motivation as opposed to like, why is this important that we care about each other and that we have a deep understanding of the cultures that we're coming from and all of those things. So I think that there's a deeper way of thinking about PBIS, that it's not just about like, we still are doing the slips, we still are doing those kinds of things because, hey, you picked up a piece of trash, here you go. Like you get 5 of them, you go get a snack at lunchtime, we're still doing those kinds of things. But I think it's important to recognize that it's not just, it's like when people talk about MTSS, it's a framework. It's not like this thing, and PBIS is a little bit like that, where that kind of positive motivation and like what we're describing of like that positive culture, that is PBIS. It's just that it's not just about filling out slips of paper and like that and having the rules plastered on the walls. You know what I mean? Like, I think that has its place, but I do think that I'm very hopeful that, we have faith that like this is what this is, and that this can be effective, and that the data will show that. It's just that it doesn't look the way that it did before.
Thank you.
I have a comment. So it sounds like part of the tier 1, the first point of contact is actually going to be the teacher if it's occurring in the classroom. And so I'm assuming that, especially since we have a lot of new staff, that they either have already received the training or going to very shortly receive the training that they need to be able to implement these practices. Because I'm hopeful that this will definitely help mitigate one of the concerns that occurred from last year, which was lost instructional time, because you've got a teacher that's focused on 1 or 2 students during, the social studies section of the class or whatever. And then all the other kids are just kind of sitting there twiddling their thumbs, so to speak. And that was a valid complaint that I even got from students firsthand. So I'm very hopeful that this proactive approach is going to help mitigate that and reduce that timing, so that the teacher, like you were saying, that first point of contact when the student walks in the room, they already say, oh yeah, I know I need to act or handle this student this way. So I'm looking forward to seeing the output from this.
Yes, that is the intent. I do want to remind us all that we are all just on the other side of a continuing pandemic. So recognizing that the last 2.5 years has impacted each of us differently, and how we show up and how we continue to show up over these next 2-3 years is going to shape how we fine tune how we're supporting our community. So I do not want to sit here and tell you or the rest of the community that this system and the wellness counselor and our team is going to make everything great. Everyone is experiencing life differently, and everyone brings that to them when they come to work or school. And it's how we are creating an environment where people feel like they can say, today is not a good day. I need just some space, or I need you to just let me, process things a little bit longer, or today's a great day and I want to share my happiness with everyone and let's celebrate it, right? Like, this needs to be an environment where kids are feeling safe enough to do that, where adults are feeling like they can come and say, I'm going to be my best self, even though, it's not a good day so far, to be able to have those conversations and to be able to say, hey, tag, I need some help. So I don't want to paint this rosy picture. That's not realistic. And it's hard work. This is hard work. We're human beings. We all experience different traumas, and we need to create a space where we can address those in a humanistic way.
Thank you. Yes, it just brings me down to my one last question, in that if we decide to go ahead with the hiring or creating this new job description, are we at a point, are we physically, financially stable to be able to have this extra staff on board? And I would do everything for the children. But at the same time, we're talking about, with the budget, with the long run, are we going to continue to have this job description or this extra staff to be on board as a continuation or part of the Bayshore?
So it's not an extra staff person. They would hold the same status as our current counseling job description in terms of where they are on the salary. So, and our current counselor, Mr. Patel, would have every opportunity to say that he would like to continue in the counseling position and wants to assume the responsibilities that are described in this. And if he says that he doesn't want to do that, then we would need to hire someone. So we are not getting rid of any staff. We're not hiring any extra staff. This is a clarification of roles and responsibilities, and it doesn't have a fiscal impact.
He would also have an opportunity to, if he wished, to apply for that position? Or is that a human resources question?
It is, he has all the qualifications to fulfill these responsibilities should he want to fulfill them.
Any other questions?
No, that's it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So with that, I would need a motion in a second.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with that, we'll move on to item 9, business and fiscal services, and I will pass it back over to Superintendent Beal.
Thank you. These meetings are really all about me, aren't they? All right. So this is the yearly process of the board approving the report of the unaudited actuals. And so, Mr. Dyson, if you could go to slide 5, this is a report that I believe everyone has had a chance to review. And these are just some of the highlights that our CBO has presented for us. So overall, there's no huge change in what we anticipated the 2021-22 budget to be. So on your far left side, you have the budget, the proposed budget. And then as you go through the year, you have what that budget actually ends up being. So some of the highlights were that our projections for the initial budget were very close to the second interim projections. So state revenues increased by $224,000, and local revenue increased by $86,000 with new grants and such. So we're in a good fiscal position for the resources that we have here at Bayshore. The expenditure highlights, the chart reflects that almost all final expenditures came slightly under what was projected at the second interim. So that means that our projections and our spendings were pretty much in line. The only increase in service was due to unbudgeted special ed expense. So that is where we see the difference in that line. And then the ending balance shows that an increase in ending balance is mainly in restricted funds. So these are funds that have a very specific purpose as to what we can spend. And some of these funds are intended to be spent over the next 2 to 3 years. And so we're going to naturally see some fluctuation based on the decisions that we make for these restricted funds.
Are there any questions on the unaudited actual financial report?
I have no questions.
I need a motion and a second to approve the 2021-2022 unaudited actual financial report.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the next is, again, another yearly resolution that boards are asked to approve. So it's called the GAN report, and the GAN initiative placed limits on the growth of expenditures for publicly funded programs. And so it's, again, aligned with the budget reports that we receive and your approval to do what we need to do, essentially.
Are there any questions on the adoption of the GAM?
No questions.
If not, then I need a motion and a second to approve resolution 2105.
Motion to approve 21-05.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And this last report, would you like me to continue?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the last is really just an informative update. So you approved the EPA planning spending plan for the fiscal year, this fiscal year 22-23, back in June. This is just an update regarding the EPA spending in fiscal year 21-22. So it's more for your information. There's no action. But if there were any questions, I wanted to get those so that I can address them.
Any questions on the EPA spending report?
No.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Item 10, school reports.
Okay. This is Ms. Baker again. This is just, it seems a little after the fact, and I can't believe that it's been 3 weeks since the first day of school. But this section of our school reports is to give you an update about how the school year has started off. And we have our partners from Boys and Girls Club who will also be giving their report on the after school program. But I just wanted to add that it was a lot of fun planning for the first day of school. The office staff and I had some fun getting some new banners to welcome the students to school. And one thing that I continually enjoy is really just the joy that every staff member has about being a part of the community and being here to serve our students. And so I found that we had 2 balloon experts on staff. Didn't know that. But Miss Sabrina, Miss Miriam created a wonderful balloon display that I think made some social network posting, social media posting for the first day. Kids were just excited to come on to campus, and I got to return to my kindergarten roots and escort kinders up to the yard when they were looking for their teachers.
Sweet.
So that was a highlight of my first day here at Bayshore. But Ms. Baker, did you want to add anything to how the start of the school year has gone?
I guess I would just say I don't really have. Those are really cute. I don't have a lot to add. I would just say that just to piggyback on the fact that every staff member, just the smiles of all of the teachers and the kids, they were so happy to be back. And this first day went so much better than last year. I don't know if it could have gone worse than last year, but I think we didn't know what we didn't know. And so this was like everybody was on deck. Kids had labels on their shirts, the little ones, and you'd look at them and go, they'd be like, I don't know where to go. And you'd say, well, I'm looking at your label. We're good. Don't worry. I got you. And it was just a really, really lovely first 2 days of school. And now our morning circles are going really smoothly. I think it's been off to a really good start. The honeymoon is over. We're getting into academics. So this is typically when, when it's kids are, if they're struggling with academics and finding ways to act out to avoid, this is when some of that stuff comes up. But yes, to the point of, we are not pulling kids and losing instructional time because of poor choices that are being made by students. Like, that's definitely on the radar, and I think the kids are they're kind of seeing that that's the case. And but yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of our new teachers. They are becoming just such a great part of the fabric of the school and acclimating really well and asking good questions and finding great resources and mentors in our veteran staff. And yeah, I think that's about it. And then you want me to, we're going to turn it over to BGCP.
Yes, would you like that? All right. Did you send it? Yes. Okay.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Valente, and I'm the Associate Director here at Bayshore. And Jerry Lorena is the site director. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight, but Ruby and I will be representing him.
And I'm Ruby Fong. I'm the Regional Director for the Boys and Girls Club, supporting San Mateo to Daly City.
Yeah. Okay. So while we, okay. We'll wait for Mr. Dyson.
I need a code to open it.
Before Cynthia shares, I think what I want to say is that I'm really impressed with Bayshore. I think this is a very tight-knit community that I'm actually learning a lot about. We started here in the summer, for those of you who don't know, and we had a small summer program that we launched in support with Maya Baker. We had roughly 60 students on average in the summer, and we'll talk more about kind of what we offer that sets us apart from most after-school programs. But we hope that you feel free to ask questions and challenge us where we need to be challenged so that we can really find a lot more collaboration in the community to support the students.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, we're just about there.
Ruby, if you want to scoot in a little
Wanna
bit,
get
that
closer?
way our public can see who you are.
Oh, it might not be
There's a camera right there, so.
Not shy.
We're just working on a technical issue here. Hopefully we'll be able to have it resolved momentarily. Almost there. We're so close. one more moment. And we'll have the slides up.
Oh, 511. How about 415? 963.
No, I don't drink coffee. No, not tea, madam. It's something else.
There we
There
go.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for your patience. So we are the Boys and Girls Club of the Peninsula, and we like to kind of go by Extended Learning Day program just to differentiate ourselves. If we go on to the next slide, we have our agenda, which is to go over like our Boys and Girls Club of the Peninsula mission and vision, along with our staff introduction, just so that you can put a name. So you can put a name to the face of our staff in case that you see them here and like you kind of know who you can speak to. We're also going to go over like the programs that we offer during the school year and along with our current enrollment. All right, so in our next slide, we have our mission and vision outlined here. So I will begin with our mission statement. Our mission statement is to empower the youth in our community with equitable access to social, academic, and career opportunities to thrive. Our vision is all youth grow up to lead fulfilling lives, fueled by their passions, talents, and a love of learning. Okay, so the next slide is a picture of our team. Jerry, our site director, was speaking to a parent, so he missed out on this wonderful picture. But you have here, so on the right side, that is me. Right next to me is Yaritza. She is our program operations manager, who you most likely will always see at the front of the school main entrance. She does all of our attendance, captures the data, talks to the parents, supports our students whenever they need a little break or when they need an ice pack. She is like that face that everybody will see daily. Right next to her, the tallest person in our team, Oscar. He is currently one of our instructors. Right next to him is Talea. She's actually a support staff who is with us 3 times a week. And underneath Talea is Alvin in the Giants hat. Alvin is our 4th and 5th grade instructor. And right next to him is Kimberly, who is our middle school instructor right now. Okay. And now we're going on to programs. So I'm going to kind of break down the programs that we are offering. For K-5 and middle school, they're very similar. So we do offer an hour of academic homework time support. So we call it Power Hour. We have enrichment options. So for K-5, we offer MindWorks, we offer PlayWorks, and then we also offer Art in Action, along with social emotional learning. And 2 times a week, we do DEIV read alouds for those grades. For middle school, we do Power Hour. We do enrichments, which we offer KiwiCo, basketball, Art in Action, MindWorks, and we also offer social emotional learning. So we have 2 separate programs that we use for social emotional learning. For K-5, we do use Second Step. And then for middle school, we use Project Wayfinder. They both have a scope and sequence. It's very simple to follow. So it's pretty planned out for them. And the instructors are able to come in, look at what they have for the day for the lesson that they're leading, which is only once a week on Wednesdays. And I believe that also aligns with the Caring School Community SEL Day that is done during the school day. So I think we are going to try to touch base to maybe hopefully align our scope and sequence as much as possible with the school day, social emotional learning. And then the read alouds that do happen twice a week for 25 minutes. We have the books already that are age appropriate and grade appropriate, along with the lesson plan. There's like cues on there for the instructor to stop, check for understanding, ask them questions to just get to ensure that the students are actively listening and they are following and understanding what they are listening to, the story that they're listening to. Yes.
Are any of these connected with computer technology?
So the enrichments right now that we offer are not, they're all hands-on. Everything that they do is either like a project or a worksheet or just community circle, more hands-on learning. So we do limit like the computer time. The only one that we do allow them to use computers are really for power hour. So that way, that's the way they do their homework, or unless they have a packet and they don't have a computer, then that's what they would use. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're gonna go to the next slide. So here is our BGCP membership enrollment. On the furthest left, we have the current enrollment. It's color coded blue. Right now, we have 131 students who are currently enrolled. Our target goal for BGCP for our site is 150 members. And then our ADA, which is our average daily attendance, we have been averaging about 90 students. And then our goal is about 120. We do have a wait list. So for K-5, currently we have 11 students on the wait list. And then for middle school, we have 13 students who are currently on the wait list. And just to tie it back into where I presented our team and our staff, just being completely transparent, right now we are low staff. And so we have 2 instructors, one who is a floater that supports us 3 times a week. So that is also the reason why we still don't have more openings and more classes and are able to take in those students who are currently waiting for a position or a spot available in our program. Is there anything that I'm missing?
I think what's important to note is that the staff ratio for our programs where we find that there's safety and really impact is a staff ratio from one staff to 20 students. And so, which is why we're impacted with such low staff numbers. We just can't take on any more students until we can fill those open vacancies for staffing. What we're also finding as we've expanded throughout the county is that Bayshore has been our toughest school to staff. We've just found that, I think what we're finding is that, and what we're learning is that the community here is so tight knit that we actually need to not just go to the school campuses throughout the county, like the college campuses, junior colleges and whatnot. I think what we need to do is pound the pavement and really hit the community centers, the churches, any local facility here in Daly City, right here in this area particularly, to really target like young adults who are really passionate about giving back to their own. And so that's what our plan is, to not just countywide cast that net, but really focusing on finding those places within this community and those diamonds in the rough who are really willing to come here and make impact on kids who probably were just like them. And so we'll be sharing out our recruitment flyer that has the application attached to it with any and all of you if you're willing to also help recruit, because we're looking for 4 instructional staff who are committed to working, between 2 and 6:30 every day to really help develop and really impact the resources that we have for the students here at Bayshore. Any questions? Yeah.
Yes.
So I can hear that you guys are short-staffed, but your goal is 150 for
So,
enrollment,
correct.
and your ratio is 1 to 20. At what ages is 1 to 20? Are you talking about pre-K, K to 3 is 1 to 20, or all ages?
The ratio for kindergarten is 1 to 10. From first grade to 8th grade, it's 1 to 20. And so the difference between what the enrollment is and the ADA is the enrollment is just filling out an application, because with attrition, after filling out an application, you're not going to get 100% of people who fill out the application. So with the attrition, we're hoping that we can land our ADA, our active attendance, at 120. Now, if we go over 150, that's wonderful. That's even better. And we will staff to the need. So even if the ADA goes above 120, we're going to go out and look for more instructors. Because if that's the need here at Bayshore, we're going to staff for it as much as possible.
Okay, and then what's your timeline for you to be fully staffed?
Oh gosh, we wish it was back in July. We had a full week of training in the first week of August. I wish that I could say right now, like, oh, I'm sure by the end of September we would have that staffed, but I doubt it.
Because to tell you the truth,
Ruby, yeah.
That was one of the my pet peeve for the Boys and Girls Club, because the overturn of staff, you know, it was ongoing, you know, and then families were willing to build that connection and with staff, and all of a sudden that staff is gone. You know, there's other people coming. So, and I'm still seeing the pattern. I'm still seeing your short staff. And so that brings me, my next question is, do the families pay for a fee to be part of your program?
There is no fee.
Okay.
I know that, so on the second day of school, our organization hosted a back to school event. Oh, thank you. Our organization hosted a back to school event where we distributed over $10,000 worth of gift cards to students.
Not here.
Here.
Yeah,
Here?
it was
Yes,
here.
Yeah,
It was.
there was
Friday.
$50.
Wow.
There were
$50
for the backpacks. There were
Foot Locker.
35.
Old Navy.
And Old
and-
Navy.
Yeah.
There were
I hope
35.
they signed up.
Yeah. So there were 35 backpacks to students who were raffled off through the event. These were all members. In each of those backpacks were $200 of gift cards, $100 for Foot Locker, $100 for Old Navy. And then for families or students who did not receive a backpack, they were given a $50, or was it 100?
It was 50.
A $50
$50
gift card for either Old Navy or Foot Locker. And so it wasn't to, it wasn't to bribe or make anyone feel like they needed to be a part of the program. It was really just to help the community understand that we really want to support them in whatever the need might be, and celebrate coming back to school and being a part of not just Bayshore school day learning, but also the after school day learning. And so I think that, so I hear your concerns. I can't sleep at night because I know that this team, it's a strong team. Jerry, who's been here for a long time, who's just a fiber of this community, is here for a reason, because he loves and is passionate about the student here and the staff. And Cynthia, with her background and knowledge with BUCP, I think that these two are a dynamite team that really have impact, but it's not fair to them when they're short-staffed and they can't do more of what they should be doing. And so we have a recruitment team of 3 people on our HR team. Outside of them, it's us. And so, which is why, I told Superintendent Deal and Principal Baker, if I have to pound the pavement this weekend, that's what I'm going to do. And that's my plan, is to make sure that wherever I can get my hands on that flyer, any stores that are willing to put it up outside their buildings, let's just do it so that we can get the people most committed to this community to give back. And to also your concern about turnover, part-time jobs are also, it's just kind of the nature of turnover. Especially post-pandemic has not just affected the students, it's affected just the way people work and how they really move about with employment. So it is going to be a tough ride. I think that if we can really find people who are committed to doing what we set out to do and really passionate about the work, just like many teachers here, I think that there could be better longevity. I just don't think it can be long sustained on a part-time role either.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been a big challenge, starting off the year and knowing that we have that many students on a waiting list. I was surprised, and I was hoping that we would be more proactive in sustaining, staff, and we fell short. And when we fell short, we have a lot of students and parents who are very frustrated. And, there was been no communication. I believe that we weren't being as transparent as we could have been during this time. But the fact of the matter is that we have kids that are not enrolled. How is it that we can have staff at other centers come and help to support, the kids that are on waiting lists?
To be honest with you,
How do we roll up our sleeves to say, I'm a site manager or site director or whatever.
Yeah.
How can we step up to make sure that we get these kids in and not lose them anywhere else
yeah, absolutely.
into other programs?
To be honest with you, Bayshore is not the only site that's struggling within Boys and Girls Clubs, or additional after-school programs are also struggling with maintaining staff. All of the sites that I manage in the north are all short-staffed. This one happens to be the worst of them all.
The worst.
Yeah, well, this one has a need of 4 staff. Other sites they vary from 1 to 3. So they're all short across the board. This one is the shortest. And so our focus really is Bayshore to ensure that and they all have wait lists as well. So, and they're much bigger wait lists. The other school in Daly City has a wait list of 40 something students. So, I mean, I just know that we are really doing our best to recruit. And I think we will be asking for all of your help to also put the word out. So I think it's really important for those who are right here invested to really vouch for what we're doing so that they can be bought into the mission as well.
I would definitely encourage you to give each of the board members, each of us a copy. We'd be happy to
Will
help.
do.
So maybe maybe it sounded like HR needs to increase the salaries or something. That would be,
There is a $1,000 signing bonus, and that even then we're still not getting applications.
Where's the application?
Right? Come on, let's sign up.
I'm a part-time person already. You can always have a second job.
Yeah.
Third
Any
one.
other questions or concerns?
Thank
I hear
you.
you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I
Yes,
mean,
thank
it's
you.
just, we just need some urgency on this matter. I understand what we're all going through. And when it comes, at the end of the day, it's all about the students. And
Absolutely.
we just got to work very hard in trying to get staff.
Well, yeah. And on that note, Rick, I'll just repeat this for anyone that's listening or is going to listen on our YouTube broadcast is parents. Yeah. If you need a copy and you know someone that might fit this job role, please come to the office and I'm sure we'll be able to connect you with BGCP.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sorry, if we go to the next slide, you'll have our contact info. Sorry, it's the last slide, I promise.
I jumped
you
ahead.
will-
There you go.
You will have like our email, Jerry, myself, and Yaritza, along with our Boys and Girls Club office phone number. So if you have any questions, we are in room 111. Yeah, we're happy to help. And then we'll also make sure to send out that flyer along with the link for the application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
So for the time being, what do we do with this 11 that are on the wait list? Or what does the school offer for those,
For the
those families?
the 23 total?
Yeah, is it total?
Yeah, because you got 11,
24?
24 total, right? 11 K5 and then
Yeah.
13 middle school.
Do we have a plan?
That's a good question.
I do not have a plan other than Boys and Girls Club, but I know that we have a community center that's very close to the school that has been working on some after-school programming. I haven't personally gotten information, but I know that we have staff members here at school. Mr. Patel, I know, is or Trustee Fabua might have some information about that. But I do. I mean, to me, it emphasizes that the community we need to work together to make sure that if we can't meet the need here on this campus, that we do have other resources in the community that our families can connect with. So I think it's a matter. I honestly think it's a matter of the short staffing availability. And then there is a desire for families to want to stay on campus. And I understand that. But I also know that there's a community center that is working hard to have programming available as well. So I'm not as aware of what's going on at the community center.
They're
but
not offering anything for the young children. I think they're
just middle
focusing
school?
on seniors right now. So that's why I asked, do we have a plan? Because I spoke with the director and that's what they're doing, is bringing the seniors, yeah, maybe something to put aside on the admin to kind of work on it, to see, put our heads together to see what we can do with these families.
Well, and also, I think the path of least resistance is to find resources for BGCP. If we could find two, even if just two more resources, that would definitely cover the wait list. So that seems to be like one of the quickest solutions. But again, I completely agree. The job market in the Bay Area is ridiculous right now.
Sign up and I'll sign up.
Cheers.
Did the board have any other comments?
Thank
or
you so
questions?
much.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it back to Superintendent Veal for the superintendent reports.
Okay.
These are excused.
So this first report is an update on a meeting that I had with Safe Schools personnel from the county office, as well as Public Works representatives from the city of Daly City. Both Principal Baker and Trustee Avalana were able to join in. So Trustee Avalana, if you have other things to add, please feel free to do so. But overall, I would say the meeting started off with a good discussion around the serious concerns that we have about safety around our campus, especially at dismissal. Mr. Dyson voiced his concern this afternoon about the double parking and our students' safety that is significantly impacted when we have kids who are trying to jaywalk across the street to get to the double parked cars. Unfortunately, the city did not have immediate recommendations as to how we could deal with the double parking and the jaywalking. They recommended human conditioning was the term that was utilized. And we are trying to condition humans by reminding them that it is unsafe to double park and to have students walk across. Speed bumps has been another request that we've had as a community, and the city has continued to say that that's not an option due to our fire department and perhaps even police department concerns around the speed bumps. They did say that if we did want to look into a crossing guard at the already designated intersections, that could be something that the city would contribute to the payment of. The average cost of a crossing guard is $20,000. And the city would pay for half that cost, and recommended that we look into grants that might be available to cover the other portion. That's just one person. And we have at least two intersections that could use some support. The good news was from the Safe Schools representative, Teresa, who said that there might be a spring release of some granting opportunities that could cover supports like crossing guards. So I will definitely look into that once that's released. But right now, there weren't any immediate offerings from the city to address our requests.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good meeting and it was intense. But we brought up a lot of good points, as you mentioned. They did a demonstration on the corners of Otia with Oriente and Sharin. So those were demonstrations that they actually painted. They put the cones there, and it was basically temporary. We gave them some feedback and mentioned that it did help, and it was positive feedback. But we're looking to do more of a permanent curb extension to protect pedestrians from when they're crossing the street in those directions, as they do have them on Geneva. So, we talked about loading and unloading zones, but as Ms. Veal mentioned, we want to get to the community and teach them or help them understand and learn that double parking is illegal and jaywalking is too. But it's just what we have to do is communicate that and be transparent in making sure that parents understand what can happen in any event as kids are being released or picked up. We see that happening on Sharin. We see it happening on Oriente especially. So there's a lot that we really need to do. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue to have more meetings with them. And they're going to do some surveys in and around this community. Because as we know, with the redevelopment project at Midway, that's going to bring a lot more traffic onto Martin, Sharin, Oriente. So we're going to probably quadruple the amount of traffic coming in and out. And we're going to put more pedestrians at risk if we don't put these barriers in place to help protect our pedestrians as they're going about, the community. So speed humps is definitely something that we requested, but there's a lot of information behind that maybe we as a community need to come together and really put that out to get those speed humps in place to slow the traffic down. Because if you're in a 25 mile per hour zone, people are going 40, 50, sometimes 60. And again, we're putting everyone at risk. So there's a lot that we really need to do. There's a lot of work that we're going to continue to communicate and hopefully make some changes in this community for the safety.
Well, I think that would be a good project for the PTO to host a safety night, for the parents and students. And then we cover all those. And I see Dyson is shaking his head. So it's a thought. And then I think last week there was Filting, the Councilwoman Pamela DiGiovanni, I want to say her name. She helped with, I think David Canepa to secure a funding for safe routes to school. And that the amount was 30, wait, let me just see to see if I'm right. 3.2 million was secured for Jefferson School District and Bayshore. So, and that was the doing of Councilwoman Pamela. It was always, so we don't get the money, it's going to go to the district, to the city. So now we need to go, hey, we know you got money that belongs to Bayshore, so we need to
So
know.
anyone listening to this, please
Yes.
reach out to Councilperson Pamela DiGiovanni.
Right. And she will, so the money doesn't come to us, but it goes to the city. But if we're part of that money, then we can actually secure some safe routes here in Bayshore.
Yeah. And Teresa from Safe Routes was present during that meeting. So she had everything to do with the demonstration that was put out on the curb extensions, the temporary curb extension. So, but that's something that we need to take on with the city now and getting
Right.
something permanent.
And I also feel like until something happened with any child crossing or a parent do that, then people start being awake. Until something happened. How many times we have breached this from, it's an ongoing thing.
No, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And to kind of build on your statement and on Rick's statement on the Midway development, we are going to, the Midway development is going from 150 units approximately to 550 units. That is a huge increase.
Right.
And on top of that, the parking ratio is going down. So there will be less parking per unit. It means there's definitely going to be a lot of traffic coming out into the rest of the community. And I think that, to your point, we do not want to get it to the point where we have to be reactive because something occurred.
So I say we go in strong.
Okay. Well, again,
Let's-
encouraging anyone listening to this to please reach out to the council.
Let's
city
go
council.
to a city council meeting and bring this up, before all this it's up. I mean, it is up, and but we need to go in strong.
Thank you.
The next update I wanted to provide is around a water leak that you may have seen from our parking lot. So this goes back to April when the food bank delivery truck hit one of our posts, gate posts. What ended up happening was the cement that was holding the gate post, there was, when the irrigation system was put in for the planting, the gate post cement was put very close to the pipe.
It was done after the fact.
Okay. And so unbeknownst to us, that impact ended up cracking the pipe. And so a very slow leak has happened since April. But it came to the surface about a week and a half ago. We contacted the city to see if this leak was something that the city needed to handle, if it was us, and they said, nope, it's you. So both Mr. Sun and Rafa, our tech support person, tried to fix the leak, but they couldn't get deep enough and to the right part of the pipe. So Ms. Bowman's father, Mr. Rodriguez, actually came to try and find out where the leak was. The water was shut off, and Mr. Rodriguez has since come to fix the leak. So the leak is fine now. The leak is gone. And we will be having the area covered up and the post fixed all by the food bank. Ms. Legaspi has been very diligent in communicating with the food bank, and the food bank has been very apologetic and will cover the costs of the repair. So,
and the labor,
everything.
Oh, good.
Right. Okay.
Just
Yes.
submit an invoice.
Yes. So it's good news.
Oh,
Good news. Things are repaired, and especially since we're in a drought, we don't want to impact
Right.
water availability. And then the last update was part appreciation and part next step. So I really want to appreciate everyone's time and energy and dedication to the special board meeting that we had August 20th. It was great to connect and to talk about purpose and mission and why we're all here. And I left feeling like, again, very happy and honored to be a part of this community. But one aspect of our conversation was my evaluation. And so I would like to go to our next steps on solidifying the evaluation process so that I can make sure that my work is intentional and measured, and so that we can have a celebratory meeting at the end of the year with all of the great progress that's been made. So I would like to propose that we have a study session in October. I don't know that it needs to take too long because we did discuss the idea of it being a collaborative uh, process. So I would come with ideas around what goals could be aligned to our LCAP and our governance priorities. And as the CSBA consultant we worked with recommended, I like the idea of us following the CSBA's suggested sequence of evaluation
Okay.
process. And I think we were all in agreement
Right.
as we were leaving that would be a good process to use as a timeline for reporting out and for being transparent about the work that's being done around the goals. So if we could find a date in October, I don't know if we want to do an evening or another Saturday.
Can we do a weekday?
I'm fine to do a weekday. I mean, like, but whatever's your schedule.
Anytime after 5, any weekday after 5?
Just can't be a Tuesday. And I know,
Sure.
Ms. Papua, you have Thursdays that are
No?
booked.
A lot of your evenings are booked. Is there a particular day of the week where you might have an evening open?
It's the 3rd. Good.
October 3rd,
Yeah.
that Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Is that too early for everybody?
Kind of too early for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
I'm just going to
Mondays
be
are tough.
recuperating from.
From where are you going to Hawaii again? Oh, your surgery.
I was in pain throughout my Hawaii.
So if we can try. Wednesday's not working for you, no?
I am
No.
out of town
For the whole month of October?
I'm unavailable from Friday the 7th through Friday the 21st.
Oh, darn. Now that's the whole month.
So that would be anything prior to the 7th and anything after the
When's your
21st.
surgery?
After the 21st would be better for me.
The 28th?
That's
You
the day
mean the
before.
24th? The 24th? Is the 24th good for you?
Mondays don't work for me.
Okay.
Pretty much any other night.
Tuesdays,
What?
I have class.
Tuesdays you have class.
Unless we do it on a Saturday.
No Saturdays. I have football.
Oh, yes.
I had to
Okay.
drive my son because he coaches football.
Thursday the 27th, would that work?
Thursday 27th is, I'm good for Thursday.
Thursday the 27th?
What time?
Let's say 6 o'clock.
Does 6:15 work for everybody? That's what time the normal board meetings would be.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
6.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
I'll make myself available.
6 p.m. on the 27th?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I will be in contact with each of you around the agenda and the materials for you to receive prior special session. Excellent. I did just skip over one of the items, though, was the approval of the updated governance handbook. So the CSBA consultant, Luann Rivera, did incorporate our notes to as a part of the discussion that was had on August 20th. And so she recommended that we approve the updated governance handbook. So hopefully y'all got to review and
Yeah.
if there are any questions or edits. If not, then we can
No,
assign approval to the.
a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, with that, we go to item 12, board member reports. And I will pass it down to Ms. Papua. Do you have any board reports you'd like to make?
No, just thank you guys for the luncheon that you took part of it. And I still owe you guys money.
And then me.
I will Venmo you today. Also wanted to thank you for the staff for, for a wonderful report to hear that this round of coming back to school went well. And, there is a saying in Samoan that goes like this, "Olelo malona fuata." That means each leader leads differently, so we have a superior that has her own style and, doing ways. So it was good. It's good that we see some things are going well. It's not going to happen overnight, but just a little tiny thing now, it's bothering me, this wait list. And I'm not going to sleep well until that's how
Right.
I am. So if we can work on that to see what we can do. No, everything is doing good. Thank you for the card. And I was so proud to see a lot of Bayshore at the funeral. It was just like, I was so, like, I even my son that saw the alumni, everybody, the staff, Miss Baker, you stood there and you bore your testimony and, about, this individual. And that's how strong Bayshore is, and I almost got up and say, if you are a Bayshore resident, if you went to Bayshore, I want everybody up here. I was going to do that, but I had to take my son to football practice. So I'm just proud of, of who you are representing Bayshore, whether you're a staff, or a community member, a board member, a parent, a student, or whatnot. That's it. Thank you.
I see the card.
Oh,
Ms. Brown, did you have any board reports?
Yeah, just I will be picking up election materials tomorrow, and hopefully we can place them somewhere in the school or in the office in different languages. Tongan, I don't think we have Samoan, so they're bad. Spanish and English. Yeah, just get everybody prepared for elections coming up in November.
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Aviana?
I'm just excited. I'm excited about this year. I was looking into the camera. Whoever's out there. I'm excited for this year. I'm excited about all the staff that we have. I'm excited about our new superintendent. And I'm excited for our students, to see the students come back and the staff on the first day of school. I could just sense that energy. And back to school night was something special. As I got a chance to kind of peek in different classrooms with the families and the students and the teachers, it was rewarding to see how everyone was like prepared. I know that 7th and 8th grade had a huge count of parents and students attendance. So that was exciting. And I want to thank all the teachers for all you've done to prepare for this year. You guys are awesome, and I thank you.
Thank you. And I will be quick. Just wanted to thank all the staff for the back to school night. It was amazing. Just looking at I think it was really good experience for not only the students, but the parents as well. And the other note to my fellow board members, just as a reminder, next month's board meeting on October 13th, I will not be here. So our clerk, Mr. Abiana, will be running the meeting since we currently our vice president retired. So just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. And then I look forward to seeing everyone on our study session on October 27th. And that's all I had. Superintendent Ville, did you have any other things you wanted to comment on?
No, just, well, yes. I'm glad you mentioned back to school night. It's been 4 years since I've been on a campus, and I really enjoyed going classroom to classroom and meeting, new people and seeing new faces and really getting a sense of the incredible teaching staff. So I'm glad you mentioned it, and I'm glad you both had a chance to be here. And yeah, I'm excited about the year as well.
And with that, we will adjourn open session at 8:11 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.